Hello friends, today we're talking about how to make your footage look less digital using DaVinci Resolve. We are essentially going to be taking footage that looks maybe a little too sharp to your eye and softening it up to give it a much more pleasing look. This is not an emulating the film look video, we're simply going to be borrowing some characteristics from film cameras to get a more pleasing image. And while there are so many ways to get a less digital looking image in camera, we are going to be exclusively looking at post-production techniques in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, the footage we have here is of my wife. It's from an upcoming video for her music that is coming out, and I thought it was the perfect clip to test out some of these effects. I've already dialed in a rough color grade using my Meadow LUT and some other simple tweaks right here, and now we're going to move on to softening this image up. We're going to slowly apply some different effects that are slowly going to get more stylized before ending with grain, and I'm going to kind of show you guys how you can tweak them based on your footage and the look that you are going for. So to start off, here's just our base grade. This was just with my LUT, some simple adjustments just to the overall contrast of the image. And so we are going to create our first node down here, and we are going to call this blur. And so this is going to be the simplest technique to softening up your image, but you're going to call this blur, and you're going to come down here to the blur tab, and over here under radius, you'll see if we move this, the image will get softer or sharper. So we're actually just going to bump this up to about 52. So before and after, before and after. This is making a really subtle change, but it is just taking a little bit of the edge off our image. So after blur, we're going to move on to midtone detail. So we're going to call this MD. We're going to go back to our primaries tab, and right here you'll see this. If we crank this all the way down, you'll see this image get really soft, and you can also boost the detail in the other direction. Negative 100 is as much as it lets you go. We're going to stick around negative 30. I feel like this is a good starting point. There is before and then after, before and then after. So all we've done so far is just softened up this image. We're really just dealing with sharpness and trying to make this just look a little bit more pleasing to us. The next effect we're going to add is glow. So we're going to come over here, search glow, drop that on, and with a few simple tweaks, we're just going to bring the shine threshold all the way down, and then change our composite type to soft light. And from here, we can then just adjust the opacity to make this image glow a little bit. So I'm maybe going to leave it about there. I feel like usually between 0.2 and 0.3 is a good starting point. And so before and then after, before and then after. It does warm up your skin a little bit, so if you don't like that, you could come in here and take the spread of the red down a little bit, but I'm actually okay with where it's at right now. Next effect we're going to use is halation. So we're going to call this halation, and for this, they have a halation effect, but we're actually going to go to edge detect, as I like this a little bit better, and right away looks a little crazy. To start, we're just going to open all of these tabs, and the first thing you need to click is edge mask overlay. So this is going to composite our image, and then we're going to adjust this edge width. So we're not going to go too far, maybe leave it around there, and then the brightness is really what we're going to bring down here. So maybe we'll put it about right there. The gamma we're going to leave, and maybe we'll bring up our blur slightly. So now we can play with our edge width to kind of adjust how much or how wide our halation is, and then our brightness is kind of how intense. So another one that you guys kind of just gotta finesse it in really subtly. So there's before and then after. I might bring that down a little bit more just so it's not as dramatic. And if you get something you like, but it's just a little strong, you could also come down here to the global blend and just kind of finesse it into place. So after, there's before, and then after. So just a little bit of halation on the edges in our image. These first four are probably the least processing intensive on your computer, but we are going to move on to a few more. So call this radial. We're going to go to effects, find radial blur, and make sure we drop that onto the right node. And then It's a little strong to start off, so let's maybe bring this down to 0.33. So before and after, it's a little bit intense, but you can come to your power windows, and we're actually just going to make a little power window here and flip it so that it blurs the outside of our image. And now if we go before and after, you'll see just on the hair down here, it is just softening it up a little bit. And this is one of those that is a little bit more stylized, so you guys can play around with, you know, where this is at, how intense you want it to blur. But maybe for now we'll stick with that. I think that looks great. And then our last effect for grain is going to be prism blur. So we're going to drop this on, call this prism, and right away, again, really strong, but we're going to bring our blur strength down because we're not really needing to blur this because we already did that on the blur node, but the aberration is really the thing that we're looking at. So we'll also turn our vignette size down because we don't need that, and just kind of play with our aberration here, just adding a little bit of chromatic aberration. I like to leave it around 0.1 just for a really subtle effect. I'm kind of looking at the nose area over here. It's before and then after, just giving us a little bit of aberration. So guys, that's my eyes looking really great. We're going to go ahead and finish off with grain. So let's type film grain, drop this on. Let's start with 16mm 500T, bring our grain size pretty close to the bottom, and then kind of crank our grain strength. And then from here we can kind of use opacity to dial it in. So I might put it sort of around there. I'll make sure to name this grain. And so right there we've got a bunch of effects kind of softening up our image. I'll go ahead and show you guys before and afters. And this is where our image ended up, and this is where we started. So this is just the color grade, and then here is all of those effects, before and then after, really just softening up our image, giving it a lot of really nice texture. If we do want to go back to just the less processing intensive effects, we're here. So this is without film grain, without radial blur, and without prism blur, and before, and then just those effects. And these are kind of my go-tos for most footage, just because I don't always want to process those extra blurs. I will often add grain, but I just wanted to show you guys before and after. So I think this looks great, and hope that helps you guys. If you guys are interested, I have compiled some of these effects into a power grade called Meadow Film Effects. I sell this on my site, and it is doing exactly what you're seeing here in this video. I have a subtle version that can be seen here. That's before and then after with Meadow Film Effects, and then also a heavy version for more stylized looks. So before and then after with the heavy, before and then after. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you guys think digital cameras look too sharp? Do you wish that some of these settings were available in camera? I really love to know your guys' thoughts, as well as any other techniques that you guys use to soften up your images after shooting. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, and until next time, peace.